Alright guys, the first thing I want to say in this video is that I apologise for not making any reviews directly after the last two Apex cards, but I would just like to show you my predictions because I believe I've done quite well, only getting one fight wrong with Chris Duncan, and as you know that was a really close, I was so close to saying him decision in my prediction video for that fight night, and I didn't make a video for last week as I was ill and I just couldn't really find the time. And I missed the prelims for Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Dolidze because I didn't know they started that early because they normally start at 11 over here in the UK. So I did miss them, but I feel like I've been doing quite well with my predictions, and I thought I'd open up the video with this. Enjoy. Okay, so here are my picks for the main card of UFC 319, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, the first fight on the main card is Kai Asakura versus Tim Elliott. Kai Asakura is, well, he fought Alejandro Pantoja, and he was a champ in Rising. And he's beat guys like Manel Cap and Rising, and I feel like he didn't even perform that badly against Alejandro Pantoja. And Tim Elliott's just he's quite a weak UFC fighter. He's been out of the game for quite long, I believe, but he's really old, and he's quite a veteran. But I think Kai Asakura gets this one done by KO in round one. He said he's going to go for a highlight reel, obviously being from Rising where they're allowed to do all that crazy stuff. I believe he might get a jump knee on Tim Elliott, or maybe a nice kick. I believe he puts him out in round one. Tim Elliott could mix in the grappling, but I feel like Kai Asakura is decently experienced in the grappling. He's not terrible, and he got that jump knee on Pantoja that I think would have knocked out anyone else that's not Pantoja. So yeah, Kai Asakura round one KO. Then we have Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. I think the key to victory for Jared Cannonier is just making it really dirty, running into the pocket with Michael Venom Page, not letting him keep his distance, just blitzing him really. I feel like people think Michael Page or MVP will go for a decision win. I feel like he wants to highlight because he had a lot of highlights in Bellator, but obviously he's not got it in the UFC yet. So I feel like MVP gets this one done by knockout. Jared Cannonier is able to come back when he's wobbled, as we've seen in that fight night with him and Gregory Rodriguez. But I do believe Jared Cannonier is capable of getting knocked out. Nasruddin Imavov did finish him as well, obviously really early stoppage, but I think he tries to shoot in for a takedown because obviously everyone knows that's the key to victory, to beat MVP, and MVP maybe gets a jump knee, or I believe he puts him out on the feet in round two. I'm gonna say Jared Cannonier tries to understand him, figure him out in Michael Venom Page in round one. But in round two, I believe he tries to shoot for a takedown and gets knocked out. This is actually closer than a lot of people think. I do feel like Jared Cannonier could win this, but no one's been able to figure out MVP yet, really, apart from Ian Gary, but he just dominated with the wrestling. But no one can figure out MVP on the feet, and I don't feel as if Jared Cannonier is going to be able to do that as the level of striker he is. The next fight we have on the card is Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates. Now, Jeff Neal's kind of had a murderer's roar in the welterweight division, obviously fighting Ian Gary, Shavkat, people like that, but I don't believe he's a bad fighter, and I do believe he has a couple keys to paths to victory in this fight. As we know, anyone can land a knockout, and he can keep his distance and make it, or he could make it dirty with Carlos Prates. But I do believe Carlos Prates gets a decision. Now, that's a really hot take, and I'm quite sure it'll end in a finish. But I want to say Carlos Prates decision because I believe after that Ian Gary fight, he's going to be keen to take his time. He might want the finish actually, because of when he didn't get it against Ian Gary. But I believe he's going to try take his time with Jeff Neal and prove that he can get a decision. That he's not just got KO power. And I feel like he might actually go for a decision in this fight. That might be crazy to say. I do believe he'll get a knockout, but I think he could say decision, and I feel like it's a pretty hot take. So if I get it right, I'll be pretty happy with that. Obviously, Jeff Neal said in the press conference as well, whoever gets knocked out loses, which was dumb. But I feel like both of them are going to be swinging. I mean, it will highly likely end in a knockout, but I'm going to say Carlos Prates by decision. Yet again, we have Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Now, Aaron Pico is obviously the new Bellator fighter. The UFC is really trying to sell him. He's supposed to take on Movsar Evloev, but the UFC is trying to really sell him. Buying him that nice suit and that. But yeah, he has knockout power. His highlight reel's mental. He does flatline guys. Some of those powerful, or some of the most crazy knockouts, I should say, outside of the UFC. But I feel like Lerone Murphy, obviously, he's got pretty board style, and I would prefer Aaron Pico to win, as I feel like he could be like a Michael Chandler, just putting on really fun fights. But I do feel Lerone Murphy gets the decision in this fight, as I think he's a much more complete fighter. And he took on the likes of Josh Emmett, who's very technical, but does also carry knockout power, and he had a key to victory there, and he won. So I feel like if he just re-employs that strategy against Aaron Pico, he could cruise on to a decision win. I feel like, as people say, Dan Ige dropped Lerone Murphy as well, but he still went on to win that fight, and I feel like he just gets the decision over Aaron Pico. I feel like the UFC will be quite upset with that. Obviously, they're really trying to sell him for a Bellator fighter, and he could find the chin of Lerone Murphy, but I do believe Lerone Murphy gets the decision win. And for the main event, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Probably the most 50-50 fight we've had in a while. That's probably going to be the best fight of the year. Maybe not the best, but the most exciting fight of the year. I could see it going either way. I was leaning towards Dricus, and I wasn't counting out a Khamzat decision. Obviously, people say if Khamzat if Dricus makes out the second round, it's his win. But I feel like Khamzat could win a decision. But my final prediction for this fight is Khamzat Chimaev round 2 TKO. I believe in the first round he shoots, and I believe Dricus' game plan. Obviously, he said you can't stop the takedown. He's going to get taken down. He just has to defend, maybe pull guard on the ground. But I believe Khamzat Chimaev, obviously everyone knows his game plan. He knows that. He knows that Dricus knows what he's going to do. I believe he's not going to look for a submission. Well, he might, he will, but I believe he's going to favour ground and pound. I believe he thinks that Dricus has obviously trained against submissions and the dominant wrestling. So I believe Khamzat Chimaev goes for a ground and pound, has a dominant first round, and then I believe he finishes him, or it gets called off in the second round due to ground and pound. I'm not too confident in this decision, because Dricus could very, very easily win this fight. But obviously, Khamzat Chimaev was training with Arman Sarukin, and he was getting his cardio up, and obviously his the holes in his game plan against that horrible fight. Or not horrible, but that low level, it looked low level fight against Kamaru Usman, and his fight with Gilbert Burns where he got dropped in the third round, I believe it was. I believe he's made those changes, and he's been training hard for this fight, obviously. I think I would favour Dricus as the champ, because I like him less than Khamzat, but I think he'd be a better champ because of his trash talk, and obviously he's more Khamzat fights only once a year if we're lucky. So I believe Dricus would be a more obviously he's a really active champ, and I feel like he's a really good personality to have in the UFC. But my final prediction is Khamzat Chimaev TKO in the second round. Alright, those are my picks for the card, guys, but I just want to say some news about this channel. with my predictions, I'm going to wait till the day or the day before the event to make my picks, because I believe the press conference shows a lot about the fighters, and I believe it's easier to make picks after you've seen the press conference. And if any fights get changed or anything, late, then like my picks haven't aged poorly. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier to make picks after the press conference. You can really tell like how confident a fighter is, how they're feeling going into the fight. So I find it quite a bit easier, and I always tend to do my picks this way. Alright, thank you guys. Goodbye.